Good morning. If you have decided to study and you want to become a professional hypnotherapist, keep watching our training videos about clinical hypnosis. Hypnotherapy is an effective technique with which you can help and improve the quality of life of a great number of your future patients. Remember, read the description of this video where you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis. And also, you can download several ebooks also free. The information in this video is extracted from our book Direct Clinical Hypnosis, Deep Hypnosis, of our publisher Clinical Hypnotherapy, registered with ISBN. Hypothermia in Direct Clinical Hypnosis, Desire and Will to Go on Living, Part 2. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Therapists know that the motivation with which patients face their illness inside and outside the consulting room is one of the most important determinants of their possible cure. If a patient is motivated, he or she will acquire the knowledge, strategies, and skills to help his or her early recovery. He or she will start the tasks we give him or her earlier, tertiary exercises. He or she will be more involved in the treatment to be followed. He or she will be more confident towards the therapist and the proposed therapy. He or she will concentrate more on what he or she is doing, and he or she will be more focused on what he or she is doing, concentrates more on what he or she is doing, persists more in the search for solutions to the problem he or she may encounter, and devotes more time and effort than those who lack adequate motivation. The latter, either because he or she is not interested in the tasks we give him or her, tertiary exercises, either because he or she believes that his or her efforts are not going to have anything positive, usually takes longer to start working, if at all, has little or no confidence in the therapist and therapy to be followed, concentrates less, is not involved in the treatment to be followed, uses worse strategies, and above all, less frequently and with less intensivity, overeats less frequently and with less intensity, and tends to be less persistent in his efforts to overcome his illness. In concrete terms, this patient has given up. All therapists in the first sessions of treatment will get an idea of the patient's chances of recovery. This idea can be variable. If the idea is that the patient has a chance of success, we set expectations and transmit this idea implicitly, and that all this is manifested in a behavior perceived by the patient. The therapist acts as a determinant of the patient's motivation or demotivation. The patient perceives the therapist's attitude, and this influences the level of his self-esteem. The patient perceives the therapist's attitude, and this influences the patient's level of self-esteem, the effort he or she will be able to make to face his or her illness, and above all, the patient's involvement in the therapy to be followed. Research has shown that when a therapist thinks that a patient can make little progress with the proposed treatment due to the illness the patient is suffering from, he or she will be more likely to be able to make the necessary efforts. Because of the illness the patient is suffering from, he or she makes low demands of the patient, and the patient responds to his or her expectations in the way he or she receives them. If others expect little from him or her, he or she will give little and will be less involved. This is how the self-fulfilling prophecy arises. The therapist is right with his first impression, but it is the therapist himself who has provoked the result by unconsciously maintaining an inappropriate attitude. That will be the self-fulfilling prophecy indirectly provoked by the therapist. But we also have the self-fulfilling prophecy provoked by the patient. If the patient has vague knowledge of his illness and is guided by what he hears on the street, which is usually bad information, they will probably associate cancer with death. If the patient is totally convinced that he or she is going to die and there is not anything to do, he or she is giving up and will surely achieve his or her goal to die. According to the self-fulfilling prophecy, when you repeat yourself and think about something a lot, that something ends up being real. Solution: we must be aware of these facts and avoid it as much as possible. We must try to fight every day and not settle for anything. Always demand more, but be careful to do it with love, to recognize the progress made and that the demands are presented gradually and in accordance with the patient's current level of development. We cannot treat a child in the same way as an adult. Always be positive towards the therapy, toward the fight against the disease, and above all, hopeful and convinced that the patient will be cured. Beliefs can materially affect the outcome of the treatment to be followed. If the beliefs of both the therapist and the patient are negative in terms of the disease, are negative regarding the disease and its treatment, the therapy is being boycotted, and this will negatively affect the results of the treatment, thus increasing the chances of therapeutic failure. If, on the other hand, the beliefs of both the therapist and the patient are positive about the illness and its treatment, the therapy is being supported, and this will positively affect the results of the treatment, thus increasing the chances of therapeutic success. It is therefore essential to consider the importance and psychological power of one's own beliefs. We are what we think. Human beings are the only creature on the surface of the earth capable of transforming their biology by what they think and feel. Our cells are constantly observing our thoughts and being modified by them. Depression can ravage our immune system. Conversely, serenity can further fortify our immune system. Joy and harmonious activity keep us healthy and prolong life. The memory of a negative or sad situation releases the same destructive hormones and biological substances as stress. Our cells are constantly processing all our experiences and metabolizing them according to our personal views. We cannot simply take in isolated data and confirm it by prejudging it. We are transformed when we internalize our interpretations of what we think and feel. For example, someone who is depressed about the loss of a job prospects, sadness all over their body. The production of neurotransmitters from the brain is altered. Hormone levels change. The sleep cycle is disrupted. Neuropeptide receptors on the outer surface of skin cells change. Blood platelets become more viscous and more prone to clumping. Even tears contain different chemical traces than tears produced by joy. This whole biochemical profile will be drastically modified when the person encounters a new situation. These facts confirm the great need to use our consciousness to create the bodies we really need. Anxiety because of an exam eventually passes, as well as depression because of a lost job. The aging process, however, has to be neutralized every day. Perhaps Shakespeare was not being metaphorical when he said, through his character, Prospero, "We are made of the same stuff as dreams, If one wants to know how his body is today, one must simply remember what one thought and felt yesterday. If one wants to know how his body will be tomorrow, he must simply observe his thoughts and emotions of today. Watch what we feel, think and say to ourselves, for we are the result of what we think and feel. We are what we think, never better said, since the thoughts we have every day shape our reality. If you're interested in learning more about clinical hypnosis, watch our next video, Hypothermia in Direct Clinical Hypnosis, Visualizations Part 1. Remember, read the description of this video where you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis, and also you can download self-free ebooks. If you have any questions, add them in the comments area. On this topic and many others we'll talk about in the channel and in the videos that we'll publish. So, if you're interested, do not miss our next videos. Thank you very much.